Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel and thanks for logging on. Well, it is the anniversary year and we have the first of our trilogy timepieces in the Omega Seamaster 300 from the 1957 trilogy. A 2017 edition of 3,557 pieces. This is a handsome contemporary watch with modern fit finish materials and substance and the best of vintage imagery. You can see it and you can own it on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images, and of course complete pricing details for this and our entire collection of Omega timepieces. Now on the wrist it has historic imagery, but you can already feel from the weight and substance of it that it's a modern watch, and that's for the best. Now it is the largest of the trilogy timepieces with a true 39mm case across the round from 9 to 3, not inclusive of the crown. It's thick, but not as thick as, for instance, the new Speedmaster 57 trilogy. 14.2mm, this one has a sapphire crystal, unlike the plexiglass Speedmaster, so it's lower in profile. Of course, from lug to lug, they all measure 48mm, and they are on identical bracelets. Many have asked, the lug spacing on all three of the 57 trilogy measures 19mm. Now, of course, all of the straps that you bought for your CK2998 last year will fit all three of those, so hooray for value. But on the wrist, I could say that my 16cm circumference wrist is not approaching the lower limit for size to wear this well with proportion and security. Although it has heft, it doesn't have much span across the wrist, meaning I believe down to 14.5cm in circumference, an oval wrist could wear this watch quite easily. Now here's where it really begins to pull away from the pack. You can see the handsome vintage style Omega logo in the twin trigger deployant clasp. Let's start with the bracelet. You can see that it features a combination of satin and polish, handsome, nicely differentiated, no pins and sleeves here, all adjustments done by screws. Underneath, a satin finish with large channels between links, both allowing the wrist to breathe and preventing the pinching of skin and pulling of hair. The clasp is very substantial. This is nothing like vintage watch materials, fit, finish, and substance. This is a modern watch, and this is why you're happy that you have the vintage look, but the modern build quality. There's even a push-button slider internally, so you can perform micrometric adjustments without the need of a jeweler or resort to tools. When closed, it is very secure, and it features twin trigger release, so you must press them to open it up. It can't simply pop open, it's not friction fit. Now the case is simple, vintage inspired, but it does have some sharp and nicely tailored character lines. You can see satin finish case band with a flaring bevel in high polish. You can see it well from this angle, that flares out as you approach the high polished terminus of each lug. The lugs themselves are relatively straight cut with strong geometries reminiscent of the vintage inspiration, the very first Seamaster 300 reference CK2913 of 1957. Now, of course, this is a true historic tribute in the sense that it's not an ISO 6425 dive watch. That standard's only been around since 1996. This watch features a bidirectional rotating bezel, almost like an aviator's timepiece. That's part of the vintage imagery and vintage lore of the watch that was there on the original, and so it is on the reissue model. Now you can also see the dial plays heavily on historic imagery with modern materials. You get full luminova, albeit in a patina style, such that the dial center is a sort of tropical black as described by Omega, with a vintage style Omega marquee and logo that simulated vintage patina, as the original would have been radium, and those that have survived to the present day exhibit this exact dark ecru or light brown coloration. Make no mistake, the indices along with the broad arrow vintage style hand and Dauphine at center are beautifully bright like a torch at night. This is very functional as a modern timepiece, and whereas the Railmaster and the Speedmaster in this trilogy series are water resistant to 60 meters, this does feature a screw-down crown and a screwed-in caseback to achieve a very dive watch appropriate 200 meters, although again technically it's not an ISO dive watch. Now we've seen the material of the dial, we've seen the substance, the bracelet, and the case, but it's what is inside that counts, and that's where this one really pulls ahead of the pack in terms of technology. This is the largest departure from the historic prototype. It is a caliber 8806 coaxial and a Maytaz chronometer. That's Omega's new chronometer standard, still meeting COSC, but it's a higher standard of a fully cased up watch, and it's a standard creating that was created in conjunction with the Swiss Federal Institute of Metrology, and that is the M in Metas. Now you'll also note, although you can't see, a 55-hour power reserve when this automatic winder is fully energized. Twin mainspring barrels, coaxial escapement, it beats away at the quirky coaxial specific 25,200 vibration per hour rate. It does feature hacking seconds. When you pull the crown, you can stop the balance, halt the seconds, and synchronize to a reference time. There is a full balance bridge, there is a free sprung balance for stability against shock, and there is an SI-14 silicon hairspring for stability against magnetic fields. Handsome, durable, and fairly advanced. You get a lot of watch for the money, and you get a lot of historic tribute for the watch. I have to say, though, the two elements never step on each other's toes. You never feel like it's compromised by slavish devotion to vintage materials, imagery, or function. If you can live with the bidirectional bezel, there's really nothing to suggest that this isn't a modern watch other than the look of it. And that's the best of both worlds, the reliability of a contemporary timepiece with the charm of a vintage one. You can see this 1957 trilogy, one of 3,557 made, on our website. Purchase it there, and you might just see the other two of the three.